What a world. Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz, third season in the NBA. Back in 2017, he did lose in the Rookie of the Year award to Ben Simmons, even though I thought Donovan Mitchell deservedly should have won it with Utah Jazz. But, I'm fine with Ben Simmons winning when it comes to it. But his rookie season, Donovan Mitchell was balling. It's crazy. So 13th pick by the Utah Jazz, and he took the league by storm, finishing with I believe it was either the 4th or 5th seed with the Utah Jazz. No one was expecting them to be that good. I believe they had around 50 wins or so in that bubble, if not the high 40s. And they went around against the Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round matchup. And they took down the Oklahoma City Thunder in 6 games. It should have been 5, but they took down PG, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony. And Donovan Mitchell was a rookie, and he was ecstatic that series, which is crazy. The following season, lost to the Rockets in the first round, and then now we're here when it comes to Donovan Mitchell. There was high expectations beginning of the season for the Jazz. I didn't expect them to be a championship contender. A lot of TV pundits and fans were saying that. I always disagreed. I knew it was either going to be the Lakers or Clippers. My favorites were still the Lakers, but that's another subject for another day. Now we're in a position where you're the Utah Jazz, and you're hovering around the 4th or 6th seed, pretty much where you're going to fall off in the NBA playoffs, coming over here in Orlando. And basically, we're going to jump into this segment and topic of retooling the team, let alone does Donovan Mitchell need to look to lead the franchise. My position is very clear. Donovan Mitchell, of course, he can stay with the team. The Western Conference, you got to notice that it's brutal out there. You have a bunch of contenders, let alone great franchises, and it's going to be hard to even get to a conference finals. As we saw with the Portland Trailblazers last season, that's going to be their peak. They're never going to get to that position again. And if you're the Utah Jazz and Donovan Mitchell, you got to understand that the Lakers and the Clippers, the Nuggets are always in the mix. The Mavericks are coming up, especially this year and a couple of years. Same thing with the Pelicans. I doubt the Suns, but you still got to keep your eye on that. And with Donovan Mitchell, his team is great foundation-wise with Quinn Snyder, let alone with Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year award winner on his team. But what he is lacking on the Utah Jazz is another scorer that is a wing. Same thing like a Gordon Hayward. I think Gordon Hayward would be perfect coming back into this franchise and on this team to help with the scoring load with Donovan Mitchell. But I'll jump into that a little bit into here, but let them talk into it, and I'll give my take.
Today's bubble or nothing team is the Utah Jazz, who are currently 4th in the West with a 41-23 record. Jazz star Donovan Mitchell is averaging a career best 24.2 points, which is the highest scoring average by a Jazz player since Karl Malone in the 99-2000 season. And guess who's joining us now? We got Kendrick Perkins in the house. Kendrick, thanks for joining us here on First Take. Now, I want to ask you, we'll start with you here since you just joined us. Does Donovan Mitchell need to leave Utah in order to win a title?
No. As the number one option, he's never, and this is just my opinion, he's never going to lead a team to a championship as being a number one option. I think later down his years, probably 4 or 5 seasons from now, if he's a number 2 option for a team, then right there, he has a legitimate shot of winning a championship. But being on the Utah Jazz, he's always going to be their best player. I pretty much think they're going to keep with Rudy Gobert, even though they've had their clashes. I think what they need to do to restructure this team is, of course, you have a foundation of Quinn Snyder, still keep him as your coach, let alone with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. I think they need to look at a couple players. I think they need to bring back Gordon Hayward. Same thing with Ricky Rubio. And they should also look to make a trade for LaMarcus Aldridge. Now, those are a lot of big players with big cap space, with big cap. But the good thing is, with Donovan Mitchell, he has $7 million left of his contract because his first 3 seasons, he's on the rookie deal. So they have some flexibility when it comes to it. I think you can sell the vision of Donovan Mitchell next season as, going off in the playoffs, kind of like the 2006 Miami Heat, let alone with Dwayne Wade. It was Dwayne Wade's around 3rd season in the NBA. And he won the championship based off a veteran team. Defensive-minded, let alone you had veterans and then a young star like him. Same vision you can sell to Donovan Mitchell. He doesn't have to look to go anywhere else. If you're looking around 5-6 seasons after this, then yeah, he's probably going to leave if they don't do anything. But No, it's his third season. He's fine.
Hell no. Where is he going? He better sit still and keep a cool booty. Listen, Donovan Mitchell is in a great situation in Utah. Listen, he has the right pieces around him. The Utah Jazz has done a great job as an organization with putting this guy in position to be successful. When you talk about a guy like Rudy Gobert, who's a top 3 center in the league, when you're looking at a guy like Joe Ingles, who's one of my favorite players in the NBA, and then when they added Bogdanovich this offseason from the Pacers, that's a great pickup. Now, they brought in Mike Conley in the trade to take some of that slack off of Donovan Mitchell, but the lack of production of Conley.
Whew. Man, that Mike Conley trade with the Memphis Grizzlies, everyone was expecting that to go very nicely to help out the Jazz, and that's been a 180, complete opposite when it came to it. Mike Conley, listen, he's got one more year left of his deal after this, and it's around for over $35 million as it is. The Jazz are pretty much going to be stuck with him. I doubt they would ever buy him out, let alone they can be able to trade him off for another team. Who knows? We'll see what can happen. But when it comes to it, that's a burden on their team, let alone cap space. Because if you're looking into the offseason and $35 million is going to Mike Conley, I mean, you can't really bring any players that can be very effective to the Utah Jazz, let alone with Donovan Mitchell when it comes to it. But maybe they can orchestrate a trade or to maybe like the San Antonio Spurs, include a couple first round or a couple second round picks, get LaMarcus Aldridge on the team. The Spurs are going young, so they can pretty much eat up that $34 million because no one else is going to join that's big. And maybe Greg Popovich is probably going to look to retire, so maybe that could work in that scenario. But they definitely need to get Mike Conley off the team. Whenever Mike Conley was not playing with them, they had a record of like 13-2 with Donovan Mitchell and the crew running the way. So they already have their own brand, their own style for the last 2-3 seasons. But they definitely need to retool when they're coming into here.
He haven't found his niche or whatever. But then they added Jordan Clarkson mid-season to the team to help them out, and he did a tremendous job right before the pandemic and was playing hell of a basketball as a six-man candidate. They are well coached. Will they win a championship this season? Hell no, they will not, because they're going to miss. Hell no, they will not, because they're going to miss.
Listen, Cats, beginning of the season, a lot of people were saying, and even Jalen Rose and people on ESPN, that 6 teams could win the championship in the Western Conference. I thought that was laughable. I've always stated it's either going to be the Lakers or the Clippers. I always thought the Rockets were going to be in that bubble, and maybe that could be the case, but I've been correct as right now. It's either the Lakers or Clippers when it comes to it. The Jazz are too young. The Nuggets are still too young as well. The Rockets are here or there. And then the Warriors are hurt, of course, but besides whenever it comes to that.
The Utah Jazz love home court advantage because it's hard to win in Utah. Now, with that being said, if Donovan Mitchell don't want to be that dude, that number one option, if he need to be that second option, then yes, he needs to leave. But if I'm Donovan Mitchell, I'm staying put. The ball is in his hands. They go to him down the stretch. And to me, this is going to be an audition for him in this bubble. Is he a guy with Bogdanovich missing? Is he going to be a guy that can give you 30-plus points in the playoff series? So if I'm the Jazz, I'm reevaluating and keeping a close eye on Donovan Mitchell in the bubble.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very simple topic. I'm not going to go too deep into it. He's around 23 years of age. It's his third season. He's already won a dunk contest. He got his first All-Star appearance when it comes to him. And in the Western Conference, it's loaded. Devin Booker had to squeak his way to get into there. So that shows Donovan Mitchell. He has his own franchise. He's the number one guy. They have a defensive-minded team, a great coach center with him. The fan base is here or there, so people can throw out the racist when it comes to they're over there at Utah. But no, they got a great fan base. He's chilling where he is. He's making money off sneaker deals. He's making money off endorsements. He's the number one guy at 23. I mean, he's chilling. And I expect them to lose in the first round when it comes to the playoffs. They're probably going to match up either, for example, with the Denver Nuggets or let alone possibly maybe even the Oklahoma City Thunder if they get the 4 or 5 seed. Who knows when it comes to it, but worst case scenario, a second round loss. But to really differentiate how he wants to excel at this team, they need to bring in some veterans and people who can score. Rudy Gobert is your second option. He's a defensive-minded player. He can't be your number 2 guy when it comes to it, as we've seen that going on in the past. So I propose there's 4 different players. If they can get at least 2 or 3, they'll be in good shape. 1 is Gordon Hayward. 2 is LaMarcus Aldridge. 3 is Ricky Rubio. And then I think number 4, it doesn't really matter, but maybe like a Wesley Matthews on the team. Bring back the culture. They have a culture, but more of a winning culture when it comes to it. They need some length because Donovan Mitchell is 6'1", and he's a shooting guard. So you're going to need some length on your team whenever it comes down to it. I like Joe Ingles on the team. Bogdanovic is a great pickup as well. But they're great role players, but it's not going to do anything to help out consistently in the big moments. And that's what the Jazz need to propel their team. So if you get a couple bigs in there, if you can get a front court, LaMarcus Aldridge, Rudy Gobert, hopefully if you can bring in Rubio back or Gordon Hayward, man, that team's championship contending set. Think of a starting 5 of Ricky Rubio, Donovan Mitchell, Gordon Hayward, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Rudy Gobert. They'll have the cap space for it because Donovan Mitchell will have that $7 million left for next season. Besides from that,
Man, Perk, you my dog, man. But man, I think Donovan Mitchell, the only chance he's gonna have to win a chip is outside of Utah, my brother. Listen, I know that Rudy Gobert is eligible for, I think, the Supermax after this year. That's a lot of money, and I know that Donovan Mitchell is also going to be up for a contract extension. And we know there are a couple players on this Utah Jazz team that are on the wrong side of 30 when you look at Mike Conley and Joe Ingles. So they have some retooling to do in Utah. And I look at it as what free agents really want to go to Utah to pair up to be one of the teams to overcome the Los Angeles Clippers or, some of these other teams that are able to form these super teams. That's to me is a struggle with the Utah Jazz is, their inability to really bring in big time free agents within that organization. They're going to have to do it in a other ways and be kind of creative. So that's why I say.
Yeah, no, I feel on what he's talking about. Same thing I stated. You're not going to sign anytime free agents going to Utah, especially to join Donovan Mitchell, who is not necessarily all ball dominant, but he's going to be the star for your team. So if you're someone like a DeMar DeRozan at 28, people are 29, these stars, they're not going to join a team where Donovan Mitchell is the main guy. So you have to make some trades. So again, Gordon Hayward, he's been with them in the past. He loves Utah. Of course, he went to Boston for different opportunities to win. But coming to Gordon Hayward in a situation, I think he'll fit perfectly on that team. They need a small forward, around 6'7", 6'8", lengthy, who can be able to score, give you 20 pretty much consistently. Gordon Hayward will be good in that position. He'll be the number 2 option on that team on offense. And then same thing if you bring in LaMarcus Aldridge, that's going to help out and nurture the veteran system, let alone a championship contender in Utah. But pretty much as a number 1 option, Donovan Mitchell will not lead you to a championship. I think maybe if they squeak out 1 year, kind of like in 2006 with the Miami Heat, and everything goes as perfectly right, with injuries, maybe some calls, that's a possibility. You have to sell that dream and vision to him when it comes to it. But I think he will probably leave Utah, if anything. Or maybe he'll be like a Damian Lillard, and he wants to stay there his whole career. I can see that as well. But usually when these cats are around 27, 28, or 26, and their first time as an unrestricted free agent, pressure's on them. They usually form a super team or let alone go to a different franchise to be, still the number 1 option to win a chip, or let alone they put their ego down and they go down to a number 2 option. Kind of like with Dwayne Wade in 2010. Not necessarily with Steph Curry after losing the championship, but that could be debated. But I think Donovan Mitchell to win a championship, he's going to have to be your number 2 option.
A chip with the Utah Jazz because it's not like a premier destination for a lot of free agents who want to go play in Utah.
Well, they're going to have to build through the draft, obviously. It's going to be hard to get players out to Utah. But if you have a great player, we saw people go to Cleveland, but obviously Donovan Mitchell is not on the level of LeBron James. So it's possible.
No, sir. They're not going to have to build through the draft. Donovan Mitchell's too good as he is, so they can't wait to experiment 2 to 3 years with some young cats to nurture themselves. No. Donovan Mitchell, his first season, went to the second round of the playoffs with the Utah Jazz, and he was electric. So since he's that good, you can't build off the draft because you're going to have around 20 to 30 whenever it comes to your picks, not in the top 10 or lottery. So when it comes to that, I think they need to put a veteran team surrounding him.
I don't think it's possible as they're currently constructed. And as much as everyone appreciates Rudy Gobert's defensive presence, like if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Perk, I don't want to speak out of turn on the NBA. You know better than me. But I feel like in important moments in the stretch last year, they had to take Gobert off the court because of the way the game is being played. Small ball teams ran him off the court or took him out of the inside by playing a small five, and his most impactful thing is protecting the rim. If you can take him out of the rim, I'm not sure.
I think another experiment Donovan Mitchell really needs to work on, because he is 6'1" and undersized, he should really look to work on his game to maybe try out being a point guard on a team. I know he's a perfect combo guard, but he is undersized at 6'1", so you're really going to have to put your point guard around 6'3" to 6'5", like a Ricky Rubio over him, which they worked very nicely for those 2 seasons. I would like for them to bring back Ricky Rubio. If not, you can always, try to experiment with Donovan Mitchell as a point guard for next season. But I'm going to stop here when it comes to the video. Donovan Mitchell, I think probably in a couple more years, like 5 or 6, he'll start to evaluate, maybe pull the Damian Lillard approach, stay with his franchise, never win a championship, maybe get 1 or 2 conference finals appearances as his peak. Maybe he'll want to, for example, go to Boston, be the number 2 option while Jason Tatum's the number 1. And that's more reasonable for him to win championship, but it's way too early, Cats. I mean, this is his 3rd season. He's doing well as it is, progressing, let alone. So let's see what happens here. I'm really curious of how the Jazz, their management for season goes upon this offseason, because this is really going to determine for the next kind of couple seasons if they're going to bring in some veterans like Gordon Hayward, LaMarcus Aldridge, maybe Ricky Rubio, or if they go through the draft. So let's see what happens.